Well, hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, everybody. So glad that you joined Act 3 today. I'm Kathy Holmes. I'm delighted to be your host for the show. And in my Zoom booth with me today, I have Jennifer Hufnagel, and she is with Hufnagel Consulting, and we're going to talk about all things AI. I am so excited to have you on the show because so many people are starting to sort of take that first step into AI and people don't know where to begin. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got involved, a little bit about your company, and let's just break AI wide open.
Sure, sounds great. Thanks, Kathy, so much for allowing me this time to spend with you and your listeners today. So, a little bit about me, maybe I'll start there. I'm actually from the north end of Vancouver Island, from a little town called Sointula on Malcolm Island. So, my great grandparents were one of the first colonizers from Finland. I there then went to university in Victoria, have a business degree, and then spent lovely 15 plus years over in Vancouver. And now I'm back on Vancouver Island. So my background, I've spent 25 years now. I'm aging myself here. It's almost my 30th high school reunion. That's next month. Um, I know. And guess what? I'm planning it. Maybe I should just ask AI to plan it, actually.
Hey, you could almost, right? Let's find, can you? Not a
I
bad idea.
Not a bad idea. Oh, not a bad idea. But I was really fortunate. I started as a business analyst before software, I say, was cool. Before software as a service was really out in the market. We were building customized software for government, large financial institutions, et cetera. And then I found 1-800 Got Junk after the recession of 2003. And that's really where the love of software and the combination of people and training. And I always say I fell into learning and development and training. When I went to university, there wasn't a master's in adult learning or instructional design. So I have always started in software. I had started in software training. And when I moved back to the island, I shared a little bit of my story with you. It was a little challenging moving back here, and I left, Hootsuite, which was a software company. I wasn't able or allowed to work remotely at that time. This was pre-COVID, unfortunately. So I kind of struggled, certainly being back here. And so how I found my AI aha moment, as I always like to ask my participants and people who come through my workshops and clients I work with, was when I was building an HR workshop. So my background, business analyst, learning and development specialist, and so I can build any type of training for you. And I was really creatively tapped out. It was, I think in the afternoon, probably around this time, and I was creating an HR workshop. And I thought, oh gosh, I just can't think of these learning activities. I thought, heard of this chat GPT thing. It had come out a month or two before. And I thought, oh, I'll go and try it. Signed up, got an account. And I think it took me a little bit to get an account. And I asked it. I knew nothing about prompting. And I gave it, I'm rambling as I am now. And I said, I'm an instructional designer. I am an expert in adult learning theory. I am creating an HR workshop. Here are my 3 learning outcomes. Please create me 3 learning activities using Bloom's taxonomy. Like I just like a lot of information, context, and instruction. And it immediately came out with 3 learning activities that were high quality and for each learning outcome. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And then I can't say this on the radio, but holy bleep and bleep, this is coming from my job. This is what
Yeah.
clients pay me good money to do for them. And then I thought, what else? What else can it do? So I knew at that moment, that was my AI aha moment, that I really needed to like get on the wagon, so to speak. I then joined an future AI Future Lab Mastermind group, which was brilliant. It was worldwide by a fellow named Moses Ma, who was just brilliant. And we all learned together. Claude, which is a large language model, wasn't even in Canada, hadn't even existed at that point. It came out a little bit later. And so we all learned together in this lovely training environment. And his purpose was that he knew what was going to happen. He could foresee the amount of jobs that were going to go away because of this technology. And so, very similar core values in, community and service and impact. And I just took that and ran with it. So that's sort of my AI aha moment. And now I've been leading AI training on Vancouver Island. I have worldwide clients and participants, but I feel really strongly about supporting especially here locally and locally in BC. Does that give you an idea of a roundabout,
It
Kathy?
does. It really does. It puts context to it because, I think that so often some of the very best businesses that are created come out of necessity, come out of that moment of oh my gosh, I have a problem, not quite sure how I'm going to solve it. And with ChatGPT, I had the privilege of learning about it with you at the most recent Nanaimo Women's Business Network meeting. And when I went, I kept nodding my head, going, yes,
Yeah,
yes, 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 yes. Because the truth of the matter is that we have changed a lot since COVID. So many people are working very differently than they were before.
yeah,
And the ability to really get some clarity around a project with a couple of prompts. Now, I noticed when you were talking both then and today is that you were feeding the information to ChatGPT. It wasn't a matter of just kind of going in and pressing two buttons and away you go. So why don't we talk a little bit about how good ChatGPT is and
sure.
why that's something that's really effective for people?
Sure, 100%. So ChatGPT is a large language model, and simply put, I always like to say it's a prediction model. It's based on patterns and based on data, and it is available 24/7. And think of it as your most expert assistant. Now, it's under the umbrella of generative AI, and AI essentially allows humans to act and think. Pardon me, computers to act and think like humans. So whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, there are multiple ones out there. I prefer ChatGPT. I don't work for OpenAI. It was the first one I learned, the easiest one to train on. And again, software trainer at Hufnagel Consulting for the last 3 years. I've been building training and working on operational efficiency and digital adoption. So ChatGPT, also we can talk about that later, has allowed me to be more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're interfacing with a large language model like ChatGPT, it's something we've never done before. We're literally talking to robots. And we need to communicate in such a way that we provide instructions, we provide a lot of context about who we are. The output that it provides, it's best guess, and it's usually fairly generic because it doesn't know necessarily about you, Kathy, and all of the things that you've done at Act 3 and everything else in your life, unless you've already been on the internet. But it doesn't know very, intimate details about you. Now, I'm not talking about boyfriends and girlfriends, although
Yes,
many
of course.
people many people have named their ChatGPT. I don't, mine's just ChatGPT. I have a male voice. Mine's Ember, but I've heard French Fry, Chatty G, you name it. Ivy, a client told me that, and his wife had said, "Who are you talking to?" He's like, "I'm talking to Ivy again." She's like, "Ivy," but it's
Oh,
really
wow.
yeah, because it's really that expert assistant that is there with its entire goal to serve you. So by putting in more specific information, you're going to get a better output and an output tailored to what you want. Now, you could be creative and say, well, your child wants a new story about a unicorn. And say, create me a story about a unicorn. And then it can get a little bit more creative. So I do recommend, and I'm very clear with the building blocks of instruction, context, style, and tone, which we spoke about, at least as a starting point.
Yeah.
Um, at least as a starting point. Yes. Does that
I
answer your
I
question?
had to try it right away.
Yes,
So when after I left I didn't actually that night, but the next day,
certainly.
I needed to write a difficult letter.
Hmm.
And it was one of those kind of letters that nobody wants to write. And when you write them, you think to yourself, like, am I saying too much? Am I not saying enough? I've been an English teacher for 30 years, so I'm thinking can just whip something off fairly easily. But in actual fact, when I told ChatGPT specifically, I've not named mine, but when I typed in really the parameters of what I was looking for, I don't think I could have written a better letter, right? There were some um, inconsistencies for what I really wanted to say, but all I needed to do is go back and say, okay, actually, almost just about, and it actually would make the repair. It would make the change based on on what I had asked it to do. And I remember you saying in the I wasn't
Workshop.
the webinar, but
The workshop. Yeah.
the workshop that you had given, that the when you're using please and thank you and all of that, it actually would adapt this. So of course I had to try it out. So I'm in there with please and thank you and all the really niceties that I do. And I want
Mhm.
this letter to be firm but kind. I want this letter to be, have good boundaries, but at the same time express the concerns that I'm feeling at this moment. And when I had made the adjustments using those minor details, boom, in like less than a second. I mean, it was so fast.
So
And
fast.
the letter left tears in my eyes. I mean, I had no idea, and I think most people don't really realize what AI can do.
What it can do. Yeah.
Now, having said that, from a letter's perspective or for doing a variety of different tasks, it's fantastic. But a lot of people are quite frightened about AI. They're afraid they're going to lose, as you mentioned, the concern about your job. Where is it going to go? What do you tell people when they find themselves in that fear place?
Certainly. I just want to actually give you one little tip, Kathy, for next time. So
Sure.
when you reiterate with the prompt, you can actually then take the final prompt, go back and start a new topic, new chat with that final prompt to give you an even better output. So
Oh,
instead of
wow.
reiterating as we go along, you can actually take that now, this is what I want, and put it back in. And I also want to point out that you're a fantastic communicator. So this is coming really easy to you. So there are some people that communication might not be their strong suit, and we're going to have to get better at communicating. We're going to be talking into our devices, talking into our computers. So getting used to this technology, it feels a little bit weird. Yeah, certainly. I have a few slides in my regular workshops that talk about fear, and jobs will be lost. I'm not an AI futurist, but we don't really know what's going to happen, but we do know that jobs are going to be lost. Just like historically over time, we don't have the types of like as a software trainer, my job 30 years ago, we didn't have software. So my job is really brand new in the grand scheme of things. So I think it's really important that people are absolutely nervous. So we have to talk about that elephant in the room.
Hmm.
And with fear, I position it as the way to get over the fear is to learn a little bit more about it and is to educate yourself about it. If I could get every single person on Vancouver Island in whatever role they are, my oldest participant was 99 at a senior facility in West Vancouver. If I could get everybody in a room to walk through and really start to feel comfortable, there are things that you can do as well if you're nervous about it. Is first of all, don't put any private information. Don't put your visa, your social security number, your passwords in at all. That's just standard. Use models and either pay for them because chances are if you pay for them, they're not going to take your data or use your data.
Hmm.
Some of the models that have come out are not great. So always read the privacy policies, the data policies, the terms of use. And I really like ChatGPT because on the free model you can turn off the training model. So you you can feel a little bit more comfortable that anything that you're putting in there is not going to go into the massive training model. But usually it comes down to fear and that people haven't found their AI aha moment yet. What's in it for me? How am I going to use it? And and that's when we start to look at fun use cases or examples like snap a photo of what's in your fridge and tell me what I can make for dinner.
Mm.
Or do research. My friend, so I have this 30th high school reunion coming up next month, and I saw two of my friends that I hadn't seen in quite some time, and they're unfortunately not able to go. And one of the fellows had said to me, "He's like, well, how is this relevant to me?" He said, "I'm going ATVing in the interior next week and or next month, and I need to research trails. Can it do that?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." I'm going ATVing in the interior of central BC in these areas. I'm looking for off-road ATV trails that maybe aren't known in the regular books, such as, backcountry. And he listed off a couple of books. Please go out and research all of the different trails, include the coordinates for me, and put it into a table. And then you could always say, now you could upload that to Google Maps as an example. He's like, what? It can
I'm
do that.
shaking with the what as it is too, because again, for me, it's been just a simple letter. The idea that it could actually create a mapping device almost.
And upload. I did that when I went to Scotland. I said, I don't drink. I want to cold dip my way around Scotland. Give me, and I did all of the research, based upon the dipping places. I also had posted a bunch on Facebook. So I took all of the comments from Facebook and then uploaded it. And then I actually said, create me a table with all of the GPS coordinates. And then I mapped it and created my own Google Maps so I could visually see it. And it
Wow.
people don't know what they don't know.
No, that's the truth.
And that's why community is super important. I call it an AI COP. What does that mean? AI community of practice. That's just some fancy change management language, but really it's about a community. It's coming together to say, I did it for a letter. Oh, okay. Well, I created a business plan. Oh, I took some of my store data for revenue that I normally might do do some analysis in Excel and uploaded it, and it gave me some beautiful charts. I can do research. I can snap a photo and digitize. How many books do you have on your desk right now that you have handwritten information? Snap a photo and it transcribes for you.
Wow.
So it's all of these different things. So the fear is real. It's there. I want to honor that. That's where people are at. People were afraid of computers. People were afraid of telephone. People were afraid of cars. And they thought cars were dangerous. And so I just want to honor that. And by learning a little bit more and practicing safe practices online.
I think there's something to be said about just the idea of moving into things with grace and slowly until you feel a little bit comfortable with it. Because you're quite right. We don't know what we don't know. And the idea that we can do something so fantastic in a matter of moments is really, really quite outstanding. What's the longest amount of time it's taken for you to put something together from ChatGPT? A basic thing.
Um, a basic thing. Oh gosh, I can do basic things in minutes.
Yeah.
I think something that took me a little bit longer. So we have an advanced ChatGPT workshop on this week on Wednesday. And so I we're talking about customizing GPTs. A custom GPT is a task that you do repetitively over and over again. You're
Mm.
creating that blog, you're creating that proposal. For me, I was taking training data before my workshops and after my workshops. And so I wanted to compare them. And then wanted to have different charts, a summary, and then sending out that information. So I created custom instructions so I don't have to ask it the same thing every single time. And that took me probably 5 to 6 hours, but only because I was testing it and I was learning at the same time to say, okay, that's not quite the output I want. And why didn't it calculate that correctly?
Mhm.
Oh, my data isn't clear. So I learned a lot of things that, because we're all on this learning journey together, Kathy.
Of
There are
course.
no experts. Thankfully, I'm in multiple online groups that are paid groups. She leads AI. I'm speaking at AI Renaissance on Thursday. And we have, I think, 20 different speakers globally that are coming to this workshop or this conference. It's an all day conference. I'm in AI Advantage, people who are younger and smarter than me. So I can also go and ask my communities if I don't know something. So that was probably the longest that it took me, but you can create a custom GPT super quickly, upload your operations manual, share that with your team, and then they can ask questions to the custom GPT instead of coming and asking your team or your department or, what's the vacation policy or, I cut my finger, what's the safety policy, etc.
It sounds like the diversity in the program itself is really quite extensive, that there's a lot of different things that you can do. For somebody who's never used it at all, who just sort of comes in and says, look, I hear about this chat GBT or I hear about how can I start? What would you recommend for someone to do as the base, the very first thing that they should do to just get an idea of how fantastic this is?
I think the number one thing you can do is go on and type it in instead of using google.com, go to chatgpt.com and ask that your question there versus Google and use it for a week. And then you'll start to see the difference as to what the outputs are versus just searching
Mhm.
on Google. That would be my recommendation if you're
So
just
is
using it.
ChatGPT then much like Google in the sense that it's a search engine to find that information?
Ah,
Would that be a way to describe it?
it's actually not. It does use search. Good question, though. It does use search. So, but it's searching on this training data set. It's recognizing patterns. Whereas you go out to Google and it will list out every single, individual website. Let's say I'm looking to for accommodation in Greece. I'm going on a trip. It would give you every single link to say, here's Expedia and Travelocity and Airbnb and VRBO, et cetera, and probably some other accommodation links. And you'd have to surf through each one of them. ChatGPT, you can say, I'm going on an 8-day trip to Athens. I would like you to look up accommodation that is under $200 Canadian a night. I am going in September. I want to make sure that I have at least a single room with a shared, you can give it as much detail as you want, and then go and create me a table that lists everything with the URLs. You could then say, give me every single review that you have. So instead of
Mhm.
just a linear search, this is again, I'm trying to make it simple.
Mhm.
Instead of just a linear search, it's searching on patterns and returning a ton of information back to you exactly how you want it. So
So it's like having a travel agent almost, and within a few seconds, it's like having, an educator. It's like having a teacher in your room. It's like having, everything is right available to you by simply giving it the information that you want to pull from it. I do recognize that you had also mentioned the more specific, and I want to emphasize the more specific you are about your ask, the better results you're going to get. Is that true?
it is true. The better communicator you are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what's so beautiful about I wasn't logged in, so if you saw me looking down, I because we might want to do a little demo after, and I might and I with a voice demo to show you something in a moment. But this tool, speaking about learning, this is the most democratized tool now. This technology was only available to the big tech giants before. We
Yes.
couldn't afford it. So
Yes.
talk about the beauty of this democratization. Now, I understand that not everybody has internet in the world. I completely understand that,
Mhm.
especially on Vancouver Island and in British Columbia, not everybody has access to the internet. But what if you do? What a beautiful opportunity. You can learn how you can learn. Any learning disability, any different learning style, anything you want, you can ask a question about. And that's what is a beautiful opportunity. And you can, one of the other building blocks is asking it and acting like a persona. So you can say, act as an expert chef, a Michelin star chef, and create me this recipe for Korean fried chicken bowls. I made that for dinner last night. Or act as an expert business strategist and let's walk through, this new strategy or idea that I have for my business. Or act as a tutor and teach me Spanish, basic Spanish. Or you can, if you have children and they're struggling with math, I wanted to be a math teacher, Kathy. Do you think I can actually do math right now and advance? No, gosh. But I was the tutor helper at my high school. It was hilarious. So, and if you're not sure, you can just ask it. So it's very democratizing that it's really in the hand, and there is a free version of it, which is great. I have a paid version. It's $20 US, which is now what, $1 million Canadian these days. Although our
It-
dollar, I think, went up last week. So there are more features, but
Well,
it's just
and I think that that's the important piece is yes, it's okay. I'm ha quite happy in the moment by using the free version
yes.
simply because I'm in that space in my work with it where again, I don't know what I don't know, but I'm trying to sort of understand some of the basic pieces. And also the work that I do, this is the resistancy, right? Like I can feel my own resistancy to, well, how can it's no longer my work. If I'm calling into Chat GBT and I'm saying, I'd like you to write me, some best practices for X, Y, and Z, and it's coming out in seconds, I love that idea. I do. But I'm a little bit nervous about that idea as well, and plagiarism and all those things that go with that. So, are there things that we need to be careful of in that way? You mentioned something about, turning off something that held the
Mm,
information, but you lost me there because I
sure.
understand that sometimes there are features in every program that we use that we can turn off, but what features would we want to turn off? So that's kind of a messy question, I think, but it's a little bit of that combination of security, plagiarism, turning things off, keeping what's relevant, and protecting yourself as a user.
Yes, so thank you for asking that clarifying question. So we usually say in the AI communities that I'm in, and I say it in training, if something is free, they are probably taking your data.
Yeah.
And if something is paid, you're probably a little bit more secure. So finding a model like a chat GPT now, could they change their terms and conditions and next week 100%? And so what will you learn in one of the workshops is it's not necessarily just chat GPT, it could be Claude or Perplexity, etc. But what I meant was there's a setting that you can turn off, that you can toggle, that anything you put in doesn't go into this training model of what it's been trained on. So it went out at a point in time and got every single thing from the internet, data repositories, different code repositories, anything that was publicly available. That's the training data set. So anything you enter in, you can go and toggle that off so that the information doesn't go into there. Now, OpenAI, who owns ChatGPT, never said it's Kathy's specific letter that she's written. It's probably based on the patterns. And it also, you can't, one of my clients does loan reviews and they do loan funding. And so they put in an Equifax. Now, they took off, or it's called redaction, or they anonymized the Equifax report. But ChatGPT, for example, knew it was Equifax and it said, no, it's private data, personal information. We can't upload that, even though they use Equifax to be able to adjudicate their loans. So that's that toggle again, to make you feel a little bit more safe. I
Mm.
think it's also really important. But the one thing you can't do is if you toggle it off, you can't give it feedback to say that's biased or that didn't quite, that's not quite a correct information. So you lose that piece. The second thing about, I think it's really important to have the human in a loop. When you create
Mm.
something, my sister's an author as an example. So she uses maybe a little bit to help sort of, refine some of her writing, but she's using it for things like search engine optimization, keyword search, creating blog posts, and those sorts of things,
Mhm.
not necessarily her books. But I think it's really important to have a human in the loop and a human in the middle. So once you've written something, Kathy, then going in and editing it and making it your own. What I typically do, say for my LinkedIn post, I'll talk into ChatGPT and I'll verbalize what I want to say. And then I'll ask for help and then I'll tweak it at the end. I don't just say, go and write me a LinkedIn post for the radio show I'm going to be on with Kathy. I would prep it with some information. So I think that that's really important. There are also guardrails with something like ChatGPT. Some of them, there are no guardrails. You can do
Mhm.
very bad things and nefarious things. But if you ask it for specific lyrics of songs, it usually won't give them to you. It says it violates its privacy policy. So, which is too bad because when we were in the seniors home and you're like, I can't remember the words to the
Yes.
song, and that was one of the use cases. And I was like, oh, but we did do the one, hi ChatGPT. Do you want me to show you
I
actually with
do. I think that's a
voice?
grand idea.
Okay, that's great. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm just on with Kathy Holmes from Act 3. We are on the radio, and I just wanted to do a bit of a demo with you. Are you comfortable with that?
Course. I'm happy to help out. What would you like to cover in the demo?
Just checking, Kathy, you can hear that?
I can perfectly.
Wonderful. Can you actually, we were just talking about travel, and I went to Scotland, and one of the use cases that I did when I was over at the seniors facility was talking about, I wanted to learn a bit more or reminisce about Urquhart Castle with one of the residents there. And her husband was Scottish and he had passed away. So I had said to ChatGPT, can we have a conversation in a deep Scottish accent talking about Urquhart Castle? So can we do that? Can you have a really thick Scottish accent? And can we talk about Urquhart Castle, please?
Absolutely. Let's dive into it. Burkhart Castle, perched on the banks
Oh,
of
I'm
Loch Ness.
just wait, ChatGPT. You don't have a thick Scottish accent. What happened? Could you go and make a thick Scottish accent for me, please?
Absolutely. Burkhart Castle, nestled by the bony banks of Loch Ness, is steeped in centuries of history and legend. It's a place where you can truly feel the spirit of the Highlands, with its rugged stone walls.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, ChatGPT.
I love it. I love the idea that you can correct it,
Oh, interrupt it. This is launched.
interrupt it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And think about this, especially most women in the household do many of the household tasks, cleaning and taking care of children and these sorts of things. When you can be washing the dishes or folding laundry or changing diapers, as an example, and you can be like, hi, ChatGPT, I need some help on this email. Or, hi, ChatGPT, I'm hosting dinner for Easter's coming up. I'm going to have a ham, but I also have a vegetarian. Can you help me create some side dishes? Oh, and I have somebody who's gluten-free as well. You can just be talking into it naturally like you do anyway, and it will be creating all of this in the background.
And where does it all go? Where does that data go?
It still goes in the chat.
It
Still
just goes into the chat and then you refer back to the chat with your list. It's all available for you right there.
All there. Snap a photo of my handwritten grocery list and then tell me specifically what I need for this recipe and the amounts.
Can
So
that happen when can you take your camera and take a picture of what's in your fridge and it do
yeah,
the same thing? Like literally, you mentioned something
literally.
about earlier, but I'm trying to wrap my head around literally walking to my refrigerator, taking a picture and having it tell me that I'm going to make a casserole of whatever that might be. Right?
Whatever's in there. Yes. And speaking of walking, there's Vision, which is a paid version. But I was part of the Big Brothers and Big Sisters charity event, the
Yes,
Eco
the recent
Elegant
event.
Faction Show. And I was a model. Oh gosh, that was very interesting. But I did it. It was very fearful, but I did it.
Good for you.
Thanks, Kathy. I've never walked the runway before. So I said, I'm going to try this. So I popped on ChatGPT, the advanced voice, which I just showed you. Now, this is the paid feature. I then pressed the little video and I said, hi, ChatGPT, I'm going to walk the runway. I've never done this before. I'm going to prop you up on a chair. Can you watch me walk and can you give me tips and tricks? Because I'm a little bit nervous. How does that sound? Excuse me.
That sounds like a great idea. I'd be happy to help. Just set me up so I can see your full walk, and I'll give you feedback on your posture, pace, and confidence. Just let me know when you're ready, and we can start whenever you're comfortable.
Amazing. Thank you. And just these glasses, what do you think of them? Do you think they fit my face really well? And what color are they?
Sure. Your glasses look like a dark frame, possibly black or a dark navy. They suit your face well and complement your features. They add a nice, confident look.
Thanks, ChatGPT.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
A
Think
little
about
freaky.
little freaky.
I gotta say, a little freaky that it can look at your face and tell you what color glasses that you're wearing, and it's not a little person inside of the phone. Little freaky.
Little freaky. And Kathy, think about this again, that democratization. If you are visually sighted, you can actually put this up to say, what does that sign say? What are we looking at? Is the taxi on the way? This is just, it's unbelievable. You can also do, oh gosh, I just got so excited. You can do translation, transcription.
It makes me so happy to see how excited you are. It really does. I'm just going to take a moment though to ask our listeners. We're about just a little bit past halfway through the program, and I'm getting as excited as Jennifer Hufnagel is to talk to you about AI and ChatGPT and the other different kinds of other platforms that are available. So what I want you to do, because you're going to want her information, is you're going to grab a piece of paper and a pen. Come on back when you have a second, and let's write down some of her details. So we'll give them to you in a few minutes. But before we do, thanks again for tuning in to Act 3 on CHOY 101.7 FM. I just want to remind you, our latest drop of the new Act 3 is coming out any day now, and we have some terrific guests. So don't forget to check us out on Shaw. Well, sorry, we're not Shaw anymore. We're Rogers Cable 4. We play 4 times a day, Vancouver Island wide, and we love it when you participate. So come and check out some of our guests. We appreciate it. And of course, always listen to Act 3 on CHOY 101.7 every Monday at 1 o'clock. And you can also listen to us on iHeartRadio and Spotify. So do make sure that you tune in. And by the way, 'tis the season for spring. If you are getting yourself ready to do something wonderful this Easter, just remember to be kind. There's going to be a lot of people traveling to the island, a lot of people coming off the island. It's always important that we're as gracious as we can during some of the more challenging times when we're getting on that ferry and getting stuck in traffic. So take a breath, take a moment, and take chat GBT with you, if I do say so myself. Jennifer Hufnagel is my guest on our Zoom episode of Act Three. Thank you, Jennifer, for still being with us. And I like you, I'm getting really, really excited about the possibilities. Now, I'm going to take you back for a second.
Mhm.
And I'm just gonna when you had your aha moment, right? We were talking about that earlier on in the program. You had your aha moment. That was a bit ago now, right? That's been a step. How are you finding the aha moments now? Are they becoming more frequent? Have you seen a change in what's happening and the way people are using technology such as ChatGPT? Are you just finding yourself going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God? Because I sure am.
It's interesting. In every session I do, whether I'm keynoting or panel, you know, hired by a company to come in and support their AI readiness, I always ask questions to see where everybody else is at.
Yeah.
And I know that there are studies in Canada that show our AI adoption at 71%. It,
Oh,
which is not true, Kathy. There are
okay.
2,183 in this one specific study. People, I don't know who they're speaking to because I speak to small businesses, entrepreneurs, nonprofits, individuals every single day. And our level of digital adoption or AI adoption is still very, very low.
Hmm.
However, what I'm seeing is the more people who are in the last 2.5 years that have come through training, their level has gone up a little bit more. So I'm very encouraged. You saw that when we were at the Nanaimo Women's Business Networking Group, is more people were standing at the end about how they were using things. So I do get excited, and I still have aha moments all the time. And that's usually from the people I follow or the groups I'm in, or just getting curious. I think the number one question to ask yourself is, can an AI do this? And the answer is, I'm not sure. Let's go and try. And
Hmm.
remember, AI is the worst it will ever be today. It's just getting better and better and better. A couple of weeks ago, I never know these timing these days. Let's say 2 weeks ago, ChatGPT launched their new image generation 4.0, and that literally revolutionized. Nobody expected it. Well, maybe some people did. I certainly didn't, because before you could create images, but the letters were wrong and the hands were really weird and backwards. And then literally overnight, ChatGPT launched this. It's for the free version as well, that they fixed the text rendering, the weird hands, the fingers. It has just been like, oh my gosh. Now, anybody who has sort of uh, gone into image generation with AI, many of those businesses were pretty much wiped out overnight because now you can do
Hmm.
this for free. So that gets back to, businesses will be, but I also get excited. Before electricity, we didn't have electricians. Before there were planes, we didn't have pilots. So I'm excited. We don't know the jobs that are going to be created. We just know that we're going to have to pivot. We're going to have to be better communicators, critical thinkers, be able to really embrace change and be comfortable with the gray, because we don't know. Now, I know you asked one other part of the question, and then the aha moments. I also think it's really easy to have FOMO, this fear of
Hmm.
missing out. So I was given some really good advice a few years ago to say, pick a lane and stick with it. And that's when we only had a few different AI tools out there. And I'm actually a terrible writer. So I really gravitated to large language models because it helps me not ramble so much and it helps me be more succinct. I think,
Before you go on, I just want to interrupt you for a second because for those of us who don't know what large language model means,
oh,
what's the
yeah.
difference between a large language model and a large image or smaller, I mean, smaller language model? Like, why is it a large language model?
Oh,
What is that
That's
in
that's
intent?
a good question.
mean?
I actually don't know why it's the large versus they called it a small language model. I suspect it has to do with the amount of data that
Sure.
it can handle and the sheer volume of synthesis and data analysis
Mm.
and pattern recognition. But I actually probably would just ask ChatGPT, why is it actually
Why
large?
don't we? Why
Yeah,
don't we?
yeah.
Bring up your
Okay,
chat GBT and let's
let's ask
do
ChatGPT.
a live right now. Get the answer we're looking for.
Hi, ChatGPT. We are, again, Kathy and I are here on Act Three, and she asked me a very good question that I wasn't actually sure about. I probably should know these things, but again, there are no experts. I'm okay to ask you the question. So, large language model, so an LLM, why is it large? And can you actually maybe explain to us in simple terms so that we could understand why the large part?
Of course. The large in large language model refers to the size of the model in terms of the number of parameters it has. Parameters are like the internal settings that the model learns from the data it's trained on. The more parameters a model has, the more complex patterns it can learn, and the better it can understand and generate human language. So when we call it a large language model, we're talking about a model with billions or even trillions of parameters.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So yeah,
Thank
I was
you,
on the right track.
ChatGPT. Yeah,
Thanks,
you are.
ChatGPT. Yeah.
Well,
Again,
you did teach in your workshop as well as about being polite, and because it will come back to you
oh,
and recognize that you're being kind.
yeah.
I had when I did my letter experiment, and I kept saying, I'm not quite sure, I'm not quite sure. And then I said, fantastic, you got it right. It came back and said, we are so happy to help you out. Thank you so much for checking us out, and good luck on your endeavor, and good luck on this. And I just thought it did kind of feel human, right? To get that extra support.
100%. And it's interesting because we it is human-like sounding, but
Hmm.
we also have to remember is that its entire goal is to be the most helpful assistant out there. So that's why you need to be really clear and make sure it also doesn't hallucinate as well. Hallucinate means make up information. Its entire goal is to please you as well. So you want to make sure a couple of things, saying please and thank you, because Kathy, I don't know about you, but if the robots come to get me, at least I know I've been kind,
That's right.
right? But then you want to, I'll give you an example. So I'm a woman of a certain age. We already talked about my high school reunion coming up. And so I follow two different perimenopause, menopause doctors that talk about the amount of protein that we should be getting. So I wanted to, I had both of their books and I thought, oh, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT the amount of protein I need for my ideal weight. Great. And so I kind of knew what the answer was. And when I asked the question, it came back with a little bit of a generic answer, or an answer that I was like, I'm not quite sure about this. So I just said, did you lie or make up any information? And it actually said, actually, I did. I just gave you some generic information. I'm sorry. Would you like me to give you accurate information? I said, yes, I want you to give me accurate information. So I think it's really important to ask questions like cite the source. Ensure that everything that you provided me was accurate. Did you lie to me? Asking those questions, just don't take verbatim what they say. Just like you would go and look up an article to make sure that you're citing the source correctly, especially if you're doing a research paper. It's the same thing. It's that human in the loop. Now, hallucinations are going to get better, and somebody will solve the hallucination challenge, and we'll be able to sort of, I think, innovate our way out there. And then just on the idea of this, we talked a little bit about fear of missing out, is just pick a lane, pick one, try it. So I'm really glad that you're not necessarily moving to the paid version yet, because you, even if you spend tens of hours on these tools, there's still so much to learn. And they're changing and iterating every single day. There's a new feature, new memory feature has come out. I did a bunch of testing yesterday on it because nobody really knows about how to use it. So I do think that it is that's the way that you it's overwhelming right now. I'm feeling overwhelmed. My communities are feeling overwhelmed because everything is coming at us. Pick one task, pick one tool. My friend Charlie Jarrett says, automate what you hate, and
Yes.
then you can help find that AI aha moment. When
Yeah.
I work with businesses, they're like, Jennifer, what tool should I use? I'm like, wait a minute. There are three pillars: AI awareness, AI readiness, and AI adoption. We're going to Do we have time to talk a little bit
Yes,
about
we
how
do.
businesses should get ready?
Absolutely. Very
The
important.
recommendations, 100%. AI awareness is that little A adoption, trying a tool, getting over the fear, finding your AI aha moment, creating an AI policy. Very, very important to create a policy of how you are going to use data in your company. How are you going to be transparent, and those guardrails up? That's individual. You can actually ask ChatGPT to help you create the AI policy as well. Again, things I used to do for my clients: create operations manuals and create policy and procedures. So that's that little A awareness. And again, it's human led, it's not tech led. Technology, IT teams are not going to be leading this, and they really shouldn't. It really should be a combination of a team, usually involving HR, learning and development, because you can't force technology on people, no matter how cool the tool or how helpful the tool is. We see this time and time again of, companies pushing technology out. And if it's forced and you don't find a reason for you're going to put your hands up. Plus, there's the fear, and it's even worse because we have no idea about AI.
Of
It's not
course.
like we're just using Microsoft Word. And there's that. Their AI awareness is so important. So, Kathy, if you said to me, Jennifer, I need a tool, a chatbot to answer FAQs, I would get you to walk through your processes, your customer journey, your financial journey, your people journey, getting everything out of your head and your employees' heads, writing it down, talking into, like we've demoed quite a lot, talking into ChatGPT. You can just ramble off all of the things for this
Mhm.
process and say, create me a checklist. Um, and having an online presence. Oh gosh, I am glad I'm not in marketing. This is a big old black box, Kathy. And when agents are going to market to agents, like using that trip example of maybe looking and wanting to go to Greece, you're not going to have to market to me, little old Jennifer here in the New Bay. You're going to have to be marketing to my agent that I said, go out and find me plane tickets. And I'm doing my work over here. And then your data. Most businesses have data in so many different places. They have it in a customer relationship management tool or a point of sale or in a shoebox. You need to be able to, or gate kept by your accountant, get that data and make sure it's clean. So those are a few things. And remember, not everything is a technology solve. Maybe it's a business process improvement. You think, oh, I
Mhm.
didn't realize that Kathy and Jennifer and Stan were all doing the same thing. Why is that? Can we improve this? Remember, it's not only just technology. And then
No.
we can talk adoption of how do we do this on a larger scale across the organization. But I really focus in the AI awareness, the AI readiness piece, because businesses aren't ready, especially Kathy on Vancouver Island. And I just feel so compelled to use my background and my skill set to help businesses with things that, getting ready as prepared as possible for this unknown.
So, first steps then on AI readiness versus AI awareness, right? Readiness would be that a person has done some research on the different tools that are available, that they know a little something about it. What does AI readiness look like for you?
Yeah, so that would actually, I would consider that AI awareness is doing some research on the tools, practicing, trying out Claude or Perplexity, or maybe Midjourney if you really like to do images, practicing and playing, getting that policy in place, talking to your team, starting to find a community that you can talk to, find the AI nerds like me, and the importance of a local community is so important too. The online is fantastic, and I feel not so siloed being, here. So that's the awareness. The readiness is all of the other things I mentioned. Is where's your data? Is it dirty? Everyone always says, Jen, you talk about dirty data. I'm like, yes,
It's
because
true.
I've had
There's
to
a
go
ton of dirty data out there.
dirty data, and I've had to go and clean it
Yeah.
before and put addresses in and fix things in advanced Excel. And I'm also a very expensive data cleanser. You don't want me to clean it. I guess if you want to, I can certainly do that. And so finding your data, making sure it's clean. Many clients I work with, I would ask them simple questions, and they said, I don't have access to my QuickBooks or my Sage account. My bookkeeper or accountant deals with that. You don't have access? What do you mean? So that's a big piece of a data source. Getting everything out of your head, how you market, what your services are, your mission, your vision, your values, having those sorts of things really clear, and getting all your policy and procedures written down. Those are those readiness tasks. I've worked with businesses that are 100,000 to 30 million. And I said, show me your manual on how to book a job, how to reschedule a job, how to do an estimate, how to do an invoice. And they're like, it's not written down. It's just all in our heads.
It's so
Oh,
true.
God.
In almost every company I've ever worked for, big ones, small ones, doesn't matter. It's the
No
same.
problem. It's the
Yeah,
same.
it's the same.
That's what you need to do first. And again, we
Mm,
don't know what it's going to mean for SEO, search engine optimization, or any of these other things. We do
mhm.
know that we are going to have to be online. So your about us, your mission, vision, values, client stories, having your website be able to load. Like we have a long way to go to get ready.
So,
And
when we were talking earlier, you said about marketing and you said, that not necessarily your favorite space. But what I saw in your workshop, and we touched on it very gently a little bit during this conversation, is that the way that you can create your own marketing campaign with some very simple things. And I have to tell you that for me and small businesses, the Act Three is 100% volunteer driven. I don't
right,
make money by doing any of this work. It's a gift to the community, to keep the community connected with what's going on and to help for especially older adults, but everyone, feel like they're connected to community. So that to me is a really important piece. But because it's volunteer, I don't have a budget to do any kind of marketing, right? Like so when I saw you share some of those pieces and how quickly you were able to create something beautiful, like a simple poster with some simple information, I was quite surprised by the efficiency of all of that.
yeah.
And so, I think that my question is, where do you like ChatGPT does some, but you've also mentioned a lot of different ones as well. Can you maybe, for the purpose of sort of that bigger question of marketing and small business management,
Mhm.
break down some of the areas or some of the programs that are also available besides ChatGPT? You've said a few of them, but they've
Sure.
gone by really quickly. So I just want to make sure that we're able to help people understand not just the technology, but that there's more than one source.
Yes, certainly. Now, I don't mind marketing. I'm just not a marketing expert. But when I get into businesses, they'll say things like, "I need to do a brand new brand refresh," and all of these things. I'm actually telling my clients not to buy software at the moment and not to do a big old brand refresh because we
Mhm.
don't know what it's going to look like in marketing. But should you know who your clients are? Yes. Should you know who your ideal target market is? 100%.
Mm.
You can use tools like a large language model to write content, blog posts, social media posts. Now, keep in mind, I think we're now seeing the pendulum swinging because everybody's writing content and everybody, is putting out articles in LinkedIn, and there's the whole M dash, like the long dash debate, and should you put emojis in or not emojis in? So a lot of people are going to more live content, like a one and done. Here's my messy hair. I'm going to just talk to you, like a human, normal, authentic person. And
Mhm.
that's some of the content. So again, I'm not a marketing expert. I do work with businesses that we can come up with marketing plans and these sorts of things. So some of the other tools that I recommend are Canva is very great. And if you're a nonprofit or a charity, you can get the paid version. Gamma.ai is another presentation one. I still do presentations in Google Slides or PowerPoint. Napkin.ai, Flotato, unbelievable. Sabrina Romanoff. She is in my She Leads AI group and just a brilliant, brilliant human. Sold her first AI company at 27, was top 30 under 30, Forbes 30 under 30 recipient. Just
Wow.
unbelievable. So she has one called Blotato that actually helps you create content and then schedule posts, similar to Hootsuite where I used to work. So those are some of the other ones, but there are 32,000. If you go to there's an AI for that, there are 32,000 or 33,000 different AI tools. So again,
Wow.
you're always researching them to make sure. And just if you pick one tool today, that's why we don't jump to adoption. That tool might be wiped out by something else. So we've got to get your business ready. I know I saw you roll your eyes. We've got to get your
Yeah,
business ready.
it was the gasp of, oh my gosh. I love that
Yeah,
there's an AI for that, just the
that
same,
.com.
.com, which is even better.
Yeah,
Right. So what I'm going to do now, because we did ask people to go get a piece of paper and a pen. So first thing I'd like you to do is share your information. How can people find you, Jennifer?
wonderful. So you can go to www.hufnagelconsulting.ca, Hufnagel consulting.ca. You can send me an email to hello@hufnagelconsulting.ca. LinkedIn, best business to business networking. I've been on LinkedIn since 1999 or 2000. Thankfully, a boss of mine told me, gotta get on this thing called LinkedIn. So grateful that I am. And you can find me, Jennifer Hufnagel. There aren't very many of us. Facebook as well, but I usually spend most of my time on LinkedIn. There are a lot of people that you could also follow there as well. You can look to see who I'm following, and I always like to share resources. I do a monthly workshop. So that is more of the AI intro to AI and ChatGPT. I have advanced workshops. I work direct with companies. If you'd like me to come in and create custom AI training for your teams, AI readiness, all of those bits that we talked about, all of the AI readiness, creating AI policy, etc. So it is, and then I occasionally take on direct consulting clients, but I'm finding more and more time spent on AI awareness, AI readiness, getting them ready for adoption.
I think the service you provide is really quite phenomenal. You're an excellent teacher. I just need you to know that. I love the way that you make this really, really easy for people to understand. And so I'm very, very grateful. And I do hope that our listeners do check you out for sure. If you've just tuned in, we're just about done the program on learning about AI, and I am not only now a new AI enthusiast,
Yes.
talking to another AI enthusiast. I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to see where this is all going to take us. Usually at this time of the program, though, I do have one final question for you before we
Okay.
close. It's the toughest question of all, but it's the easiest question of all
Okay.
when you're doing what you love. So if you were to imbibe one piece of wisdom to the community on the subject that you love so much, what might that be?
One piece of advice, did you say?
One piece of wisdom. Yeah.
Wisdom.
Hmm.
Just try it. Don't be afraid. Try it for one or two things. And I always say, my friend Mary Massey actually always says, get in the sandbox and find the other people because they're there too. We're all learning together. So just start using ChatGPT. It's a safer option compared to some of the others.
Yeah.
Use it for a week instead of Google, and you'll see. And have fun. When I always say in my classroom, when they're laughing, they're learning. We're bringing this fun back, and just try it.
I I think that people should take your advice. I think that's probably the best piece of wisdom. I had not taken your advice before being in your workshop because I didn't know really that I could do
What you
something
didn't
so
know. Yeah,
simple, right? And now since I've already gained so much wisdom just from those early opportunities to give it a go and can't wait to explore it a little bit more. Can you just tell our listeners one more time, how do they reach you?
wonderful. It's hufnagelconsulting.ca, hufnagel.ca. You can send me an email to hello, @hufnagelconsulting.ca. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I usually spend most of my time on LinkedIn. That's where most of my AI nerds seem to hang out. And if you're in the new space, let me know. I'm happy to go for coffee and,
That's
share
great.
AI.
Well, I'm loving the II piece. Thank you so much for being on Act 3 today. It was truly a privilege to have you and to learn so much from you, and also to have fun with Chat GBT. I think it's
GPT
important.
with a P.
GPT,
P like pear or P
pair,
pear P
GPT.
P. And if you don't
Uh,
know what that is, you can ask ChatGPT.
that's right. I was going to say we could always ask.
Always
Thanks,
ask.
everybody, for tuning in to Act 3. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye
Thanks,
for now.
everyone.